Renegade Breakthroughs, the show where we cut through the noise, show you the clear path forward, and help passionate entrepreneurs break through invisible barriers so they can achieve more, earn more, and make a much bigger impact. Robert Imbriale is a best-selling author of motivational marketing, and for nearly 30 years, he has helped thousands of business owners finally see what's really been running their results from behind the scenes. If you're ready for real transformation and lasting success, you're in the right place. Let's go!
Oh, let's go. Is that really how we start the show? We say, let's go. I love it. I love it. Hello, everyone. Robert Imbriale here with you today. Thank you for joining. Yeah, really warm day here. Here it's a little tepid there in Arizona, only 110. What is that, 110, 111? Yeah, it's pretty cool. For Arizona temperature, I know. It's the way it is. Middle of summer, actually, August 6th. My brother's birthday today, his 60th birthday. He's the younger brother. Celebrating his 60th. Happy birthday, Richard. Really been texting him all day. He's been going out and taking care of himself and going out for fun food and doing things you don't normally do. Lucky him. He gets to enjoy the day, which is really cool. He's in North Carolina. That's why I'm not with him today. I'm in California, obviously. But we keep in touch. We're pretty close like that. All right. Got a fun show for you today. We're going to do something that is kind of on my wish list of things to talk about. And I guess I get the opportunity to do that. I was going to have a guest today, but I decided against it because of the computer problems we had last week. And an hour ago, I was on a Zoom call and the audio was stuttering and it was a mess. And I'm, what in the world is going on? I was working fine. I was doing some testing, but all of a sudden put that in place and it didn't work. So it was really bugging me. So I spent the last hour, and what I found was that it was an app that was interfering, and it's the Claude app of all things. So I shut that down, rebooted the computer, everything's normal. Like, okay, well, I guess that app needs a little bit of work. I think maybe I should go into Claude Code and say, hey, recode your app. It's not working. AI can be really good. And it can also steer you in the wrong direction, and it can also be really bad. So one of the challenges, that we're seeing right now with AI is this stuff is coming out so fast. The iterations are coming up at us so quickly. They're not really spending a whole lot of time testing anything. They're just getting it out and putting it out. If you are using Claude, for instance, I loaded in the morning. I start the app in the morning. Oh, there's an update. I update it later in the afternoon. Oh, there's another update. I kid you not. It is that fast. They're just iterating and iterating and iterating. The other thing that I've been doing this week is using Claude has 3 levels, right? So Claude Chat is just chat, where you just talk to it or type to it and it answers your questions. And then it has Cowork, which will actually do some things for you. And you can give it access to a single directory, like I have a directory where I say, put all the documents here. And, we keep working in that same directory. So all the things that we've built, since April are in that one directory. Really nice. It makes Word documents for you in PDFs. It does some really cool things. You could send it off on do tasks. Do this every week. I want to report on this. Go look at my website stats. So go look at my sales, whatever it is. It'll do that. And then there's the third layer, which is Claude Code. Now, yes, it'll code. It'll write code for you, no question, but it is also a chat. But it has the power to do much more. So I'm not going to get into it today, but I was using Claude Code for the past week, and I said, hey, my photos folder is a disaster. There's photos in there from 2001 forward. Can you organize it for me? And it took it about 15 minutes. It organized it, put everything in folders. Everything's really clean and neat. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Now, the one challenge you have, so Claude Code can do a lot of things. They can access a lot of different programs. For instance, I was working on a video for Lewis's website the other day, and I needed the transcript. So I went to Claude Code, and I said, here's the Rumble link. Go get the transcript. And then what I want you to do is to write a blog post based on that transcript, based on the information that was in there. And it did. It went to Rumble, it downloaded the transcript, and then it wrote the blog post. I had to do nothing. except go back and edit, things that didn't feel right, that kind of thing. But, it can do that. Now, the problem that you're going to run into as we go forward here is that as these AI models have more and more access to all our data, like Claude Code has access to the whole computer, has access to your browser, right? There's a Claude plugin for Chrome. That's how it accesses the web. The app talks to Chrome through the plugin, and it can go on the web. And that's how it was able to get to Rumble and do the things it wanted to do. So the challenge is, as we give these things more and more permissions, we don't necessarily know what's going on. They kind of say, you can look at it and you kind of say, hey, there's you could say, here's the guardrails. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. And it'll kind of give you a layout of what it is doing, the steps it's taking as it's going. But sometimes those things just pass by so quickly, you can't really figure it out, right? You can't really see what it's actually doing. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. Just be aware that when you're using these more advanced models that, they can grab a little bit more, than you want them to. They can go a little bit deeper into your private life, which private life is becoming what now? Kind of a little bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? Yeah, private. What's so private about it? We don't have private lives anymore. People, we just don't. Crazy as that sounds, it is. All right, got a lot of fun stuff for you today I want to share. We'll start out with Fauci. I know we talked about Anthony Fauci, the great doctor, who is the science, by the way. We talked about him last week, but I want to take it from a different perspective today. Because in the past week, what we've been seeing is more and more confirmation. You, me, everyone in this community, we know that what we're being fed was total BS. Not all of it. Now, we got ridiculed, we got yelled at, I got kicked out of stores, I got kicked out of the bank. It's like, because I wouldn't follow the rules. We know that. And now we're seeing it all come up. So it's bubbling up. It's kind of a top story, if you will. And I like looking at, these kind of things and seeing, what we could have done better. If we don't learn from these experiences, we're bound to repeat them. So I want to learn, what did we do? What could we have done? What should we do the next time so that this doesn't get as out of control as what? Now, I'm not going to beat up on you. Right? If you follow the rules, if you did that, listen, they caught everybody off guard. Everybody. I never in a million years would have expected they would have shut down, not just the state, not just the country, but multiple countries all at once. Who would ever have thought something like that? Well, it was well planned. It was planned for probably 20 years in advance. And they knew what they were doing. We didn't know that they were planning that. We didn't know that was going to be there. And they caught us by surprise. So you don't beat yourself up. You say, okay, I see what happened. I see the role I played. I see the role other people played. How do I now not be caught with that again going forward? So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about some other things that should give you a leg up, if you will, if you're ever exposed to this kind of nonsense again. But today was interesting because the Senate committee voted to hold Fauci in contempt of Congress. Now, if you remember, Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro were also held in contempt of Congress, and both of them sent to prison for 4 months. Ironic, they had the same sentence, right? I think there were others as well. They tried to do that with General Flynn and all these people. Generally speaking, nobody goes to prison for contempt of Congress, but it was just, it was Bannon and it was Navarro, and those are the guys that were in Trump's organization. We got to go after them. So, the tables were slanted there, no question. So will Anthony Fauci be held accountable? That's the question. I'm not going to answer that question today because I don't know. We all hope that something's going to happen, but life isn't really built on hope, is it? We'd like to see the material stuff. And believe me, we're frustrated. We have seen too much hope. We have seen too many things. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Nothing happens. And we're tired of it. And we got to get off that roller coaster. So it's kind of interesting. This is the next step, I think, in breaking past what we talked about last week, the trust recession, right? This is another level of that where you say, well, do you trust? Well, the Fauci stuff The COVID stuff is one thing, but then you look at your government and you say, do I trust them now? In fact, do you trust any people in a position of authority, right? When we talk about absolute power, we talk about the corruption, when people get too powerful, it somehow proves to be true every single time. Fauci was one of the most powerful people in government, actually paid more, I think, even than the president, if you could believe that, because he'd been there for, 50 years, and you get your little 3%, 5%, whatever it is every year, and it just kept going up over 50 years. He was making more than the president was making. Pretty powerful guy. His voice held a lot of power. And he used that power incorrectly, as we now know. So, today it was the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee that voted 8-7 along party lines to hold him in contempt of Congress. Fauci's team says the hearing was a setup designed to trap him into a perjury charge. In other words, he wouldn't even answer what color tie he was wearing, if you remember that from last week, right? So he didn't answer anything because he was afraid he was going to get charged with perjury. Well, think of it this way. He already had a pardon in his hand, which means when you get a pardon, you can no longer claim the fifth. You can't plead the fifth in there because you've already got the pardon. You're not putting yourself in jeopardy because you've already been pardoned. But that he claimed the fifth, even though he had the pardon in hand, tell you one of two things. The pardon is nonsense, right? It was signed with the auto pen, so it probably doesn't exist. And he was trying to double protect himself when in fact he just broke the law. 111 times he broke the law. He wasn't allowed to plead the fifth in any of those questions. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm certainly not here to litigate his guilt or innocence. He's guilty. That's for the Senate. But the truth of the matter is, will anything really come of this? I think we're tired of the hearings. We're tired of the nonsense. And we have to be, in our own integrity with all of this stuff. The truth is, this isn't the first time this has happened, and it won't be the last. It'll happen again. They're already planning it, right? It'll be worse next time because they got what they got. I saw a number the other day that really shocked me. 79.9% of the population went ahead and got the jab. That's almost 8 out of 10. So think about it. You're in the top 20% if you stayed away from that nonsense, right? And if you didn't, we understand. The pressure was very high, and sometimes it was jab or job, and people said, okay, I'll take the jab because I need the job. And that's just the way it was. A lot of people were coerced into it, and they couldn't, get past it in any possible way. So the lesson that we were taught as a child, I think we often forget, but it probably bears repeating right now. Question everything. Everything they throw at you, question it. So when COVID started, right, back in March of 2020, my immediate reaction was, I got to find out everything. I heard about it in the background. It was in December. It was in China. It was in other countries. You don't pay attention to it. And all of a sudden, now it started to roll out and started to come here to the United States. And I really still didn't pay attention to it because I was busy with my business that had a studio, and we were doing podcasts and we were doing all kinds of cool stuff, trainings and that kind of thing. And then when March 19th came and Newsom said, you got to shut your business down. Don't come back until we tell you. Then I was like, okay, now it's in my lap. Now I've got to do something. So what I did was I took all my camera gear, I took all my podcasting gear, loaded it in the car. I didn't know if there'd be roadblocks, if there would be police. I didn't know what, because we'd never seen this before. I had no idea how it would work. So I just grabbed everything and went home. And I said, I am going to get on the internet. I'm going to find out everything I possibly can about this thing. Because I said I question everything. I never just take it, what we're being fed. And I found immediately, within the next day or two, we were being lied to. Right? And you say, okay, so what do you do with that? Well, for me, it went, I think it was April 15th. March 19th, April 15th, like 3.5, 4 weeks. I declared it for myself, pandemic's over. Now, that was at the height of it. I said, it's over. And I stopped playing by the rules. And I just went about my business and did what I needed to do. But it took me a little while to kind of figure out what was going on. But as I started to ask those questions, question everything, right? Question it. It started to, the narrative that they were feeding us really fell apart quickly. And I think a lot of us in this community kind of felt the same way with that. And they're like, no, we're not playing this game anymore. We're just not going to. Not something we want to do, and not something that is beneficial to us. So we're not going to do it. And I think that's really what we have to pay attention to. I went to get my hair cut, and it was during the time when masking was a thing. And my hairdresser knew me well and knew that I wouldn't wear the mask. And so this one day I come in and she's standing at the door holding a mask. And she said, I can't let you in. I can't cut your hair unless you wear the mask. I said, I'm not wearing the mask. She says, you have to. I said, no, I don't have to. It's not a law. You call the police if you want. It's not a law. Nothing's going to happen. But I took the mask because she really insisted. We went over to the wash basins. I got my hair washed, and then I sat down at her station. I put the mask on the station. Never wore it. Never put it on. And I said, what's the reasoning that you're so insistent on me wearing the mask? And she says, because the other customers will complain. And I said, very easy. If they complain, I'll get up and I'll talk to them. She said, you'll do that? Yeah, I'll do that. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be on you. So she relaxed a little bit. She starts cutting my hair. I daydream a little bit when she's doing that. And my mind's on other things, right? And I look up all of a sudden, and I find her mask is around her neck. She pulled it off. Oh, that's interesting. She was so insistent. Now she's not wearing it. I turn to my left. The client in the other chair, mask is off. The other hairdresser, mask is off. To the right, the same thing. Everyone around me had their mask off. What's the lesson? Lesson's very simple. Courage is contagious. If I would have went and put that mask on and followed what she wanted me to do, nobody would have taken their mask off. Everyone would have been masked up the whole time. It would have been an awful situation for all of them, right? But I took it off, and then all of a sudden everyone else is doing it too. I'm like, well, he can do it. I'm doing it too, because nobody wanted it. But so few people were brave enough to stand up, right? They just didn't. They just went along with it all. And I think that's where, for us, that's where we got to draw the line at this point. And it's okay, we're not doing this anymore. We got to be more courageous going forward. I know a lot of you who watch this show or listen to the podcast version of it are very courageous. So I want to make sure that that's a reality. All right, I'm going to take a quick break here, let you know about something that's kind of fun. I had put this little package together of AI prompts ready to use. They will help you save about 10 hours or more every week if you're doing any kind of business at all. Grab it, renegade.club/110. I'm going to start putting some of them up on my social media as well so people can see what they are, because it's like, download the ebook before you can see them. No, I want to show you a few of them. They're really helpful. I actually shared them with my friend Lee Miltier this week. I had her get the book, and she downloaded it, and she says, I copied a bunch of these and gave them to my staff because it's going to save me a ton of time. Does not matter which AI model you use at all. Any AI model will work. If you use ChatGPT, if you use Grok, if you use Claude, Gemini, it doesn't matter. These prompts will work for you. So free download, gift to you, renegade.club/110, because there's 110 prompts in that book. 100 plus it says on there, but it's actually 110. So grab it if you want to learn a little bit about AI and learn about prompting. Prompting is everything, by the way. If you look at the search engines like Google and stuff, only 2% of the people really learned how to use those search engines correctly. And AI is starting to be the same thing. So I want to help you really understand how to use AI a little bit better. Get more out of it, because it'll do a lot of things. And I suspect within the next couple of years, it's going to do so much more than it does right now. It's going to be crazy to keep up with it. Some of it's bad. The surveillance, we know we don't like any of that, but that's coming. We'll have to keep pushing back on that. But, on the good side, Bruce and I were having a conversation yesterday on the good side, helping it with business and doing mediocre, mundane tasks. It's really helpful and gets things done really, really quickly. So, you learn how to do the prompts. Prompting is your skill set. If you get good at that, The Phoebe took off on it. So all of a sudden, I got to do prompts. I got to learn how to do the prompts. And she's really, really, really come a long way. And she can do really great prompts now. And her prompts are long, right? Not just one sentence. It's several paragraphs. And she gets a lot more back out of AI when she does that. So the prompts are the key to it all. Okay. Renegade.club/110 is where you want to go. So let's talk about a couple of things that were thrown at us and under the guise of, they made it sound like a law, right? The word mandate, I never heard the word mandate. Wasn't a word I would use. And all of a sudden in 2020, everything's a mandate now. Everything's a mandate. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense. So, what happened with Fauci is a lot of stuff came to the surface. For instance, the 6-foot rule. Stay 6 feet away because the virus can only go 5 feet, 11 inches. Can't go any further than that. So 6 feet. Crazy, right? When you think about it, it's like, what now? You're right. Oh, I love the people with the plexiglass mask. That was so funny because the virus can't make a left turn. It only goes straight. And if you got the protection, you're good. But it can't make a left turn and go around the mask and get you. It was just so crazy times. And it turns out, if you want to know, it turns out that the 6-foot rule was a guess. There was no science the guy who claimed I am the science came up with it because it was, I don't know, came out of the ethers. He says here, it just sort of appeared and it was not based on data. It just sort of appeared. They came up with a number. 6 feet, that sounds good. People will buy that. Now think about what it did. People had masks on, 250 muscles in the face. You know what somebody's thinking, what they're feeling, because their facial expressions, right? We're very expressive. That's the way humans are. Now you cut that out and you say, well, now we put a mask here and all you can see is the eyes. You don't know if a person's smiling, right? That's really disconcerting. It's almost like putting everyone in a car walking through the grocery store where everyone becomes anonymous and then keeping them 6 feet away. It did a lot of damage to society. By the way, a lot of damage to society was done. So yeah, that was one. You remember the stores? They put the stickers down. This is direction. You go down this aisle this way. You go down that aisle that way. And at the cash register, stand here, stand here. The stickers were 6 feet apart. I mean, the nonsense, right? That we all went through. I never paid attention to any of that. I went down the aisles that I would go to. I am a shopper. I get in, hit the things I need to get, and I get out. And there's no way I'm following, some kind of map that they've put on. Not doing that. I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here, and I'm out. I do it. I'm very efficient when I shop. So the masks were kind of interesting. That was another thing. People could wear a bandana and that was going to stop the virus. No, it's not. It's a little bit like, and the surgical masks were the same thing. The holes were so big that, the virus would go right through it. It's kind of like putting up a chain link fence. So we're going to stop the mosquitoes from coming in the backyard. Honey, we've got a chain link fence up. Did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I remember getting stopped. I was taking a walk by the ocean and outside in the ocean, there's a nice breeze. I'm taking a walk, and this one older lady, she was so panicked. She's like, I'm very scared. I said, what are you scared about? She says, you're not wearing a mask. I was like, wow. I said, I'm okay. I'm not scared. I walked away. It's like, what else can you do, right? You can't have the fight. It's just kind of crazy. Yeah. So we have found in his emails that he actually said, we know the masks don't work. We know they don't work. We're going to make them anyway. So the fear at first was that there wasn't going to be enough masks to go around, and then everybody and his brother was making masks. You remember that? Every company who had them, I had companies that were wholesalers of electronics and video equipment and everything, and all of a sudden on their website, masks. I'm like, what? This is crazy stuff that happened. The other thing we heard when the vaccines came out in 2021, if you remember, Trump did Operation Warp Speed, and they held off releasing the vaccines that came out of Operation Warp Speed until when? Until 12:01 on January 20th, 2021, when Biden was falsely inaugurated. Isn't that interesting? So there's not a single vaccine that got out under Trump. It came out 100% under Biden because that was the first release of them. And he said immediately, he said, well, if you're vaccinated, you're not going to carry the virus, you're not going to spread it, and you're not going to get sick. Remember, it was almost 100%, 99.9% effective. That's what they were pitching. And you really had to line up to get it, and only certain people could get it. This, by the way, is a very powerful marketing technique called fear of missing out, FOMO, right? And what you do is you create scarcity. You say this is not available to everybody. Only certain people can get it. And what it does is increases the desire in people to have it. So if I said to you, hey, I've got this product to sell, but I only got 5 of them. And after they're gone. You'll fight harder to get those 5 than if I would have said, I've got 5 million of them in the warehouse. Plenty for everybody. You're like, yeah, I'll get it another time. You'll never do it. So scarcity was a tool they used, and I saw it right away because I'm in that world of marketing, and I wrote the book Motivational Marketing and the Psychology of Marketing. I understand the tool, the game, and fear is one of the most. I almost didn't write about fear as a motivator, emotional motivator, because I felt that I didn't want people to use that, but that's what was used here. The fear is you won't get it, you'll get the virus, you'll die. You better get in line. And that's the way they used the fear there. And clearly it worked. If you got 79.9% of the population that went forward and got it, crazy. Fauci also told the Senate then in May 2021, the NIH is not and never does gain of function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Well, we know that's a lie. Rand Paul was calling it. And what was interesting back then is nobody was saying anything about it. Right? Rand Paul had the receipts. He brought it to Congress. He brought it to the hearings. And he was the only voice. Fauci said, no, we're not doing any of that. And everyone bought it. Everyone believed him like he was some kind of god. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, I want you to notice what all these things have in common. Not one of them was presented as what it really was a guess. Not one of them was, well, we think it might be this way. Every single one of these was presented as what? It was presented as fact. Think about that. It's presented as fact, which means you didn't ask any questions. I'm not saying you specifically, but you generally didn't ask any questions because that's the fact. That's how they got you. That's how they got us to comply. The fact is, if you don't wear the mask, you're going to get this virus that has a 99.8% survival rate. But if you're not wearing that mask, you're going down. And they use fear. They use it very effectively. So not very helpful at all. So when we look at this, we got to say, okay, this is going to happen again because it was extremely effective, right? They were able to steal 2020. They were able to steal 2022. They were able to destroy what they really don't like, you and I, to be in business for ourselves, because what does that do? That creates what? Independence. They don't like independent people. They don't want you to have your own garden. They don't want you collecting rainwater, right? All those things are being banned in state after state. Can't have a garden or vegetables anymore. What? They're spraying the skies. All this crap coming into the ground. And we're finding here in this area is a lot of aluminum in the ground now that was never there before. And we're saying, it's got to be from the spraying. It's got to be. So they don't want you to be independent, because if you're independent, you're less likely to take orders, follow instructions, right? Think about our school system, for instance. Who are the kids that didn't follow the instructions, right? They didn't sit or quietly when they were sit quiet. They were the class clowns. They were always getting in trouble, blah, 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 blah. Now, if you go forward in society and you look at these people as adults, we kind of celebrate them, right? They're the movie stars, they're the actors, they're the musicians, they're the rockers, they're the people who said, you know what, screw the system, I'm doing it the way I want to do it, and if I get in trouble, so what? And we say, wow, they're so brave, look at them. They get to do what they want. They get to live life on their terms. That's amazing. And we raise them up and we pay them large sums of money. That's courage. That's what's missing. It's trained out of us, right? It's trained out of we get suspended or detention or whatever in school when we don't follow the rules. We get punished. But in reality, we should be celebrating it. But then the Rockefeller school system doesn't work because the whole design there was to make us good employees. We want to put out as many employees as possible because we need workers. We need worker bees. That's what we need, and that's what they put out. I didn't do well in school because I have the entrepreneurial mind and I'm always thinking of ideas and things I want to create, things I want to do. And I just couldn't pay attention to stuff that was not important to me whatsoever. All right. Speaking of entrepreneurship, let's talk for a quick moment here about one of our sponsors. Recently Thumper passed on. This was him about a year and a half ago. Yeah, not looking too happy with that. I don't think he likes to be held like that. It's kind of funny. You can always look at his face and know what he was thinking. But one of the things I wanted to share with you is that about 3 years, 2023, we didn't think he was going to make it. We thought he was on his last legs. He looked like he was going down. He had stopped eating. He was starting to lose a lot of weight. And Lewis came to me and said, "Hey, have you tried the pet club stuff?" And I said, "No, I haven't." He said, "Well, give it a shot. If the cat's not going to continue to live, you haven't lost anything, right? Or maybe it helps them." And I started giving it to him. And within a week, the tumors on his hindquarters were gone. And all of a sudden, his energy kicked up amazingly. And he started eating again within a couple of days. And it blew me away, and I became a big fan of the Pet Club stuff. If you want to get some information there, renegademedia.tv/pets is where you'll go. What you want to do is you want to get the super sauce. I think they call it special sauce now. They've changed the name of it. And start with that. It's for your cat, your dog, your goat, your cow, your horse, whatever you've got, even your possum if you have possums. The Coriolis versicolor mushroom is the key ingredient here, along with all the other great ingredients. I have people who write to me all the time and say, "Mike, I didn't expect this to do what it did," but you see the results within a couple of weeks when you start giving it to your pet. The sauce is like 1 teaspoon of it. A 3-pack will last you a month for most animals. With our cat, it lasted longer than that because he didn't eat much of it. He was very picky cat. But for those who, mix it with their regular food and give it to them and then see the results. And if you don't like it within 30 days, guess what? You can send it back and they'll give you your money back. All right. That helps me and helps the show. Helps keep us on the air because we've got all these internet connections going here. Yeah, the baddies hate natural stuff. You're right, Master Baggy. They really, really, really do. And they hate people being independent. All right. I want to talk a little bit more about courage because I think this is where we have a little bit of a deficit in our society of courage. And it's been trained out of us, as we talked about in our school system. We weren't trained to be courageous. We were trained to get in line and shut up and be seen and not heard, right? And, listen to authority. And where's that gotten us? Well, that gets us closer and closer to, look at Mandami in New York, right? All of a sudden, we've got a communist in power, a position of power, because too many of us are going along with and agreeing with authority instead of saying, hey, no, wait, we don't want that. And I think we're in a time right now where courage is hard to come by. I don't see it in our politicians. I don't see it in our leaders. I don't see it as much as I used to see it in our business community. I got to tell you from personal experience, there are a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs that I know who are right now sitting on their hands and not doing anything because they're afraid. They're waiting for the next shoe to drop. They're waiting for the economy to explode. They're waiting for something. And it's keeping them from marching forward. I think right now, honestly, is a good time to be marching forward because so many are on the sidelines. Less competition, right? It's the way it is. And I think there's an opportunity here for you if you're really going to think about starting a business. Good time to do it right now. So let me explain what I mean when I talk about courage. Because courage is a strange word. People think you got to go out and take the slings and stand up when someone's shooting at you. It's not necessarily that. it really is the willingness to keep moving forward, right? It's one of the words I use in business where I help business owners is I use the word tenacity. I am all over tenacity. I do not stop, right? I want something, I'm just going to keep going. And people say, well, that's courage. Partly that's courage because you'll run into obstacles, but the tenacity is you don't stop, you just keep going, right? So you may want to ask the question when people are throwing stuff at you. You may want to start asking questions about it. You don't have to be negative. You don't have to fight. You know, that's not the goal here. The goal is to take control of your own life rather than handing it over to an authority. Because as we've seen, the authority figures at the end of the day, they turn out to be wrong. They turn out that they've lied. They turn out that they've manipulated. They've bent the truth, or they're giving you only part of the story. And they're using fear to get you to do what they want to do. They want to control you. And we've got to take that back and we've got to say, you know what? I'm not controllable. I'm not. I can think for myself. I can decide for myself. I can look at the facts. It's not hard anymore to see the fact. Okay, AI is not quite there yet in terms of giving you the facts on things. They still lean the other way. They lean toward the authority figures. But we're going to get there. At some point, we're going to get there where, we're going to get the facts. And you could do the searches. You could use the search engines. You could find the information. Follow the right people. And the information's always been out there. But you can't be lazy about it. Because if you're lazy about it, then you don't have a choice but to buy into the system. My high school graduation, there was a speaker. I don't even remember who the speaker was. He was some big media personality, I think, in Montreal back then. I don't think I knew who he was. I could probably go look it up, but I don't remember. And he said something interesting at the graduation. He said, if you follow the crowd, you'll never get any further than the crowd. But if you don't follow the crowd, you'll find yourself in some unique places that crowd will never go. And I've always believed that. And I've always lived my life that way. And it's like, you know what? If everyone's masking and everyone's going that way and believing what they're being told, I'm taking it off. I don't think that's what I need. I think there's another way. There's something else going on. And I've always been like the outlier. People go, you're so different than I'm not really that different than anybody else, except I really do think for myself, right? I really do. And I encourage more and more people to do that because that is how we get what we're supposed to get. We got to go somewhere. We want to get things better. We want the community, we want the society to be better. We want our business to be better. We want our relationships to be better. We want our health to be better. Health is an interesting one. My gosh, if you look at all the stuff that comes across on social media, have butter. No, don't have butter. It's like every day. It's like, yes, no. It's very confusing until you got to dig in and you got to do your own research to figure out exactly what's going to work for you. Truth is, we are truly individual in our thinking, in our belief systems, right? Nobody's had the exact same experience as you have. Nobody's had the exact interactions that you've had. Nobody's been exposed to the exact information you've been exposed to your entire life. You're very unique, very individual, and so is your health. Same way. What may work for somebody may not work for you, and I always say you got to do the experiment. You got to see if it'll work for you. So I would say this, when you look at this idea of being courageous, right? It can be a little scary because it means like, you may come up against people who don't agree, right? Certainly, the masking story is one. You may come up, I don't believe in the mask. I think it's wrong. I don't think it's helpful at all. And you come up with people who will give you a hard time. I got asked to leave the bank. I got asked to leave a restaurant, right? Because I wouldn't mask up. Okay, not the end of the world. I'll take my business elsewhere, right? So you don't put up a fight, but you also don't go along with the rules no matter what they say. Because you've made up your mind, you said, this is where I stand. And I've always tell people, stand strong, stand firmly in your beliefs, but at the same time, remain flexible because the environment may change, information may come to you that you didn't have before. Remain flexible that you may change your mind on something. And that's the way to be. Strong, flexible. Strong, but flexible. And if you can do that, you'll get it right. So here's the thing. I don't want you to think about yourself as being contrarian. as being outside of the norm. You can live in the norm. You could live and be the same, be part of the same society we're all part of, but you can also be a leader. Right? So standing on your principles, standing on what you believe. I have lost friends. I have family members that no longer talk to me. Right? I've lost clients who wouldn't do business with me anymore. I was doing business with a couple of people who were really blue, really strong liberal people. I didn't mind, didn't bother me one bit. I didn't, say anything. We were just working on their business. It didn't matter what their political beliefs were. It didn't matter. I'm very strong in what I believe, and you guys know where I stand on a lot of things, right? I'm very strong there. But that doesn't mean I have to beat somebody over the head to make them believe what I believe. And if they try to do that to me, walk away. There's no point in getting into argument. This is where you are. Stand firm. And I think that's what we need more of. We need more people who won't wear the mask when they tell you to. When the next pandemic shows up in the next 12 months, when they're planning it, we keep hearing about it. What are you going to do? How are you going to act differently? I think a lot of us are going to be a lot smarter now and say, no, we're not buying that again. We're not playing that game. I don't care how high they ratchet the fear up, you will know, right? It was very, very, very clear to me COVID was just the flu. Very clear, right from the start. Because the antidote was the exact same antidote, naturally speaking, vitamin D, quercetin, zinc, right? Was the same formula, the same principle that we would give somebody to avoid the flu. So we're fighting a flu. That's what we're fighting. But they made it into something that was very different, right? And scared a lot of people. So I'm saying you need to believe what's in your heart. And you've got to step forward in that belief. And you've got to make sure that you're not swayed by people who, want you to believe something else. It's easy, and I know it. And I spoke to a lot of people over the past 6 years who were coerced into getting the injections, right? They were coerced into it. They said the pressure was intense. They were going to be fired. They were going to, they're going to be kicked out of clubs, or they couldn't go to the restaurant, or they couldn't go to a concert, or they couldn't go shopping, and right, you need a vaccine passport, and it got pretty intense there. It was hard to fight back. So if you fought back, congratulations, you won. You pushed back on a mountain of pressure to stay away from this nonsense. And now people are kind of regretting it, and they're going, so what do I do? Apparently there's a treatment that you have to go to Japan to get because it's not legal here in the United States. And they filter out the blood, and they get all this crap out of the blood. Take the blood out of one arm, put it through a series of filters, put it back in the other arm, and they run it through like 3 times, all your blood, like 3 times. And the filters are all jammed up afterwards, all the crud that they get out of there. It's pretty intense. Not available here in the United States. You got to go to Japan right now to get it. But, people are looking for that. They're looking for, how do I correct it, right? Rather than being a victim of it, they're saying, okay, I made the mistake. I was coerced, whatever. How do I get out of this situation now? How do I make the best of it? That's courage, right? We didn't know. They fooled us. They scared us. A lot of people just went along with it. I didn't. A lot of people did. And it's kind of okay. So all throughout everything that we're going to go through in life, we're going to be faced with needing to make decisions, right? And that's kind of the thing that will separate the winners from the losers going forward. And I don't mean to call anybody here a loser. You're not. But I really want you to understand that you've got to stand on principle. You've got to stand on what you believe. And, it could be religion. It could be technology. It could be, politics. It could be health. Whatever it is, you've got beliefs. Don't bury them. Own them and make it part of who you are, and stay there, and don't let people talk you out of it unless they can really show you information that you go, I never considered that. That piece I didn't know. Happens to me. I do that. I have a belief about something. I'm really strong, and somebody comes along and says, did you know about? No, that's something new. I hadn't heard that. I won't change my belief immediately, but I will go in and look at it, and I will learn. And if there's something I need to adjust or something I need to change, I'm going to do it. Now, in the business world, this happens all the time, right? I look at the coaching world. I get so many ads thrown at me all day long about, we'll find you coaching clients. We'll find you all day long, all of this. And you go, okay, how much of this is real? How much of it is nonsense? How much of it is just, trying to get your money? Most of it. Very little of it is actually real or reliable. So it's going to come a time in everyone's life where we're going to have another Fauci moment, right? We call it the Fauci moment. We're going to have this. It's not just 2021 forward. It's going to happen again. It's happened throughout history. We think of COVID because it's, present in our minds. We think of it as being, very recent. It's still fresh. But the reality is, happens throughout history. It's happening again and again. It will happen again going forward. So you got to be looking in the mirror and saying, well, if it happens again, what am I going to do differently? What lessons did I learn from that? Well, lesson number one, don't believe the authorities, question everything, right? So the immediate reaction should be, I'm going to go in and study this before I believe anything any authority says. I will figure it out for myself. When I looked at COVID and I saw 99.8% of the people got the thing, got over it in 3 to 4 days, I stopped. There's no more worry. It's over. That was it. That was the pinnacle for me. And that came right away. That was even before the end of March of 2020. That information was out there. It wasn't hard to find it. Everyone was talking about it. You don't have to be scared of something where 99.8% of the people are going to be okay. It was only the people who already had very severe medical conditions and they die anyway of the flu. It's the way it is. If you don't have the physical strength to fight it anymore, you're older, you're sick with other things, comorbidities as they call them, right? You're not going to fight it. It's going to take you out. So you start doing the research right away, all of a sudden the fear goes away and you can no longer be manipulated by the fear. Isn't that what they were peddling? Fear, 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 fear. They're scared. And the hordes of people went in. When I saw the sheep going that way, I went the other way. I could not believe when they set up the vaccination tents outside in the parking lots, how many cars were lined up. They were getting vaccinated in the car. They didn't have to get out of the car. I'm like, these people are crazy. Didn't they do any research? Did they look at this at all? I had friends who, went along with me and had the conversation about it and so on and so forth. And then they went and got jabbed anyway. And 2 of them are no longer with us. Sadly, I wish they would have listened to me and just not placated. But, everyone gets to make up their mind. They get to do what exactly they want to do. So I'm going to ask you to do this. I'm going to ask you to build your own filters. Right? I want you to filter the information that comes at you. It's going to be coming faster now with AI. I'm going to share something with you that you probably won't like to hear. Everything is getting hacked right now very quickly because AI can do thousands and thousands and thousands of different variants to hack something that would take normal hackers years to figure out. You can do it in AI in minutes. That's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of false information coming at us faster now than ever. Our level of discernment has to be high. We have to build that discernment muscle. We've got to be really good at that. We've got to start paying attention to what our gut instinct tells us, our intuition, right? And that it's been trained out of us. It was there when we were born. We had it very strong. It's been trained out of us. So we've got to get back to that and start to really use that tool. It's a powerful tool that helps us. Tremendously helps us. Phoebe and I, we test everything. We do the muscle testing. We test everything. You hear something on the news. Is it true? Oh, no, it's not true. Interesting. Or, it's a little soft. Yeah, it's partly true, but there's something in there that's not true. Or it stays firm. You go, yes, that is real. We test all the food. We test the water. We test everything. Any idea that we have, we'll test it. Right? Because your body knows the truth, and that's the intuition. If you can pay attention to the intuition, you do really well. I know some of you already know, this process called, applied kinesiology or muscle testing, and you guys use it. If you do, fantastic. It's one way to tap into your intuition in a different way. But you've got to be the one filtering all the data. You've got to be the one who has the discernment to say, yes, I'll believe that, but not going to believe that. Right? Too good to be true? Probably is. Selling it with a lot of fear? Yeah, probably no good. Ask yourself a simple question, too. They were giving away the vaccines for free. But if you're diabetic and you need an insulin shot, why wasn't that free? That's a thing, right? How about chemo? Why wasn't chemo free? Isn't it about saving your life and making sure you're healthy? You know, if you just looked at it from that logic standpoint, you go, that didn't make any sense at all. They're giving that thing away for free. Run, baby, run for the hill. Do not touch it. A lot of people didn't see it that way. They're like, oh, it's free. I'm going to go get it too. There were people literally who were getting the whatever the bonus was, the $100 gift card or whatever, and they would just keep going, getting shot after shot after shot to get that gift card every single time. Use a different name. I'm like, are you people nuts? Really, are you nuts? But you've got to know that's a filter for them, and you've got to use your own intuition. You got to use your own filters, because we're going to be snoked a lot going forward. I got a feeling it's going to go a lot faster now. What I'm seeing already with the AI and how it's working, and how so many posts are not real, so many videos that could be real. Oh no, it's not. It's AI generated. Oh, now they're starting to put tags on the AI generated stuff, but not all of them. And I've already found ways to get around that so the tag doesn't appear. You know, if I could figure it out, I'm sure other people could as well. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming at us fast and furious. Some of it's going to be truth, as we're seeing right now. So much stuff being unveiled, right? A lot of the stuff being declassified. And you might ask, why is your government hiding so much about, everything that was going on with the COVID, everything that was going on with the elections? All of a sudden now it's coming to light. You know, it's going to be a trying time going forward as we start to unravel all of this, because now we've got to clean up the mess. As a society, we got to clean up the mess, and that is for you, and that is for me. I got to clean up the mess in my life that this made. You got to clean up the mess in your life that it made. Whatever is out of balance or out of whack, got to bring it back into balance. And this is, like I said, right now is a great time to do it. If you're thinking about, I need to get out of the rat race, I need to start my own business. One thing that I declared for myself back in April was I was working 7 days a week for years. I don't even remember the last time I took a vacation. And the reality was I set up a lifestyle where I didn't need a vacation from it. I didn't need to run from the lifestyle. I enjoy the work. I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy the things I do. I didn't need to take off, right? And I decided back in April, I said, maybe it's time. 62 now. Maybe it's time I get off the treadmill a little bit of that. Even though it's a lot of fun, it still burns you out. I said, what if? And I started to do on Wednesdays, I have a day where I call it a flex day. Nothing is scheduled. No phone calls, nothing specific. And what I do on Wednesdays is I wake up, I do the little chores I got to do around here at the ranch, and then by 9 o'clock, I decide, what do I want to do today? I feel like going to town, feel like going to walk around a park, I feel like shopping, I feel like whatever. It's an open day, and I thought, wow, this really works well. I really enjoy this. What if I could do that 3 days a week? Work 2, have 3 days, right? So you're setting yourself up for the lifestyle that you want, and then you figure out how the money's going to come in. You say, oh, there's no way to make the money. There's a lot of ways today. In fact, some of the things I talk about with my clients is how many different ways there are to bring in the money without necessarily needing your direct effort. You say, what? Yeah. Think about affiliate marketing as an example, right? You make a referral. That referral signs up with a company for web hosting or a shopping cart or whatever, and that company pays you an ongoing commission when you don't do anything. There's no customer service, there's no deliverable, there's no selling. All you're doing is making referrals. And if you can do that all day long, you can build up a portfolio where all your basic income needs are taken care of. And then you end up with what we call financial freedom. You're free of having to do something every month for the money. Now you have more free time. So when I say you have to have the courage to do it, that's a big decision. That's a big change, right? That's a thing you got to be committed to. And I've been working on it now since April. I've been putting a lot of the pieces together, and one of them is this podcast, this show, changing direction, going in a direction that serves more people And I see every week the numbers are growing. I see more and more people showing up for the live stream, more and more people downloading the podcast as they learn about it. And we're going to start to do more promotion. This is the seventh episode of this new show, and it's already showing signs that people are really enjoying it. So I'm excited about that. And it's, like I said, it takes a little bit of courage to do it. You don't necessarily have the support when you're first starting. I've experienced this many times in my life. Hey, I've got this great idea. I'm going to do this. Oh, that's the dumbest thing, Rob. Don't do it. Don't do it. And you just say, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway because it feels right. And you go and do it, and you've got to fight through it. And usually it's the first year. You don't really get a whole lot of external support. And then, when it starts to build and starts to become something, the support then shows up. So, yeah, you can do that. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. You guys can take the pieces here that make the most sense, and hopefully you'll do something great with them. That's the goal. Listen, we can all be more courageous. We're going to have to be in the face of what's coming. It's not always going to be easy. We know authority will always, try to scare us to make us do certain things. I always think of the image of, a field of sheep, and then there's one sheepdog. One sheepdog is threatening to bite. He doesn't even have to bite the sheep. He's threatening to bite the sheep, and all the sheep go running, and they go right back into the pen, right? It's fear. And that's how it works, and that's what we're seeing over and over again, is the people in a position of authority scaring us to get us to do what we want. So courageous, I'm not buying in the fear. Okay, I hear your fear. Now I'm going to go look and do the research to see if it's real or it's not. And what you'll find most of the time, it's not. Very rarely is it, something you really need to be worried about. So hopefully that helps. I had a great time today. Enjoyed this conversation. I hope some of you did as well. Yes, Art of War, not as everything as it seems. Yeah, awesome. Good comments in the chat room today. I appreciate that. All right, I will be back next week, and if the computer is stable, if this Claude.ai thing is what was causing the problem, then I will have a guest on next week. I'm going to do a little bit more testing just to be absolutely sure, and then we'll have a different conversation going forward. Thank you, guys. Lots of love to each and every one of you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next week. And I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your shares. Everything you can do to help promote this show is helpful. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.